tell me how this Deebo drama will end. And I'm not saying he's the one being dramatic. The whole thing is very dramatic. Tell me it's going to have a happy ending for the 49ers.
It better, because if it doesn't, this is a really bad move if they decide that they're going to move on from Deebo Samuel, because they're not going to find anybody that they can bring in what Deebo Samuel does. I think they're eventually going to get something done with him. You start to look at the numbers in the market, and I think he fits in there, and they could fit him in there with, I think they could fit both him and Nick Bosa in there if they choose to. And Deebo Samuel deserves $40+ million guaranteed at signing, or somewhere he deserves a $60 to $70 million guaranteed deal. Obviously that's not going to be at signing, but that's what he deserves, and the 49ers should give it to him, because this guy, he put it. I keep hearing people talk about he's only had one good year. That's not right. He's had two good years. His rookie year was really good. It was the second best in the history of the team.
Yes, thank you. And he was great in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he was great. Yeah, and he was great in the playoffs, and he was one of the best, in 2021. If they don't move him back to the running back position, they just let him play receiver, he ends up with the 17 over almost 1,800 yards, 1776 with Jimmy Garoppolo throwing him the ball. And then when you look at like the numbers that Jerry Rice and put up and stuff like that, a lot of the reason that Rice had the big numbers that he did and the touchdown numbers was because he was able to run deep routes, and he was able to beat the defense on those deep posts and things like that. And right now the 49ers don't have a quarterback that can throw it. So I think that Deebo Samuel could put up huge numbers if they just let him play wide receiver with Trey Lance.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if they think that his best is behind him, I don't know about that. He's 26. He's played his whole career with Jimmy Garoppolo. Trade him to a team with a good quarterback, or just keep him and see what happens with Trey Lance. I'm not saying Trey Lance is Matthew Stafford, but Trey Lance can get the ball to Deebo in more places of the field. He doesn't have to be explosive, on slants and screens, and that's it. You can now run posts. You can now run deep over routes. I think his numbers could explode the way Cooper Kupp's did. And really, as you said, they should give him more targets. They cut his targets in half the second half of the season, not because of his play, because of Jimmy's play.
Yeah, because they needed to move him to a spot where they could get him the ball and let him make plays, because they couldn't get it down the field. So there's only so many, you can only throw so many tunnel screens and slants.
Also, they were really afraid of Jimmy's turnovers, and it became a thing like, we got to not throw that much. I mean, the only team that threw less than the Niners is Seattle. So if that's going to be your whole thing, like run as much as possible, well, you got to get Deebo Samuel touches. So anyway.
The other thing on Deebo really quick, and you mentioned it, and this goes back to Trey Lance, was that what Lance had three passes of 40+ yards last year,
yes,
which you were projecting that out. Two of those were to Deebo Samuel for touchdowns.
Thank you. So, I mean, you could argue that Cooper Kupp should have been the MVP of the league last year. He had a historic year. He was the MVP of the Super Bowl. I mean, Deebo could be the MVP of the league this year. Give him a slightly better quarterback who's much more explosive, and now he can do. Yeah, I mean, he could be the MVP. He could go for 2,000 yards this year. So
yeah, I agree. I think he could if they throw him the ball down the field. It opens up a lot of things for him. He's not taking those hard hits in the middle of the line like they do. I mean, you're still going to give him the ball every once in a while in the backfield, but you're not going to line him up, as a running back, 10, 15 times a game like they were doing last year.
So I don't think we've answered the question yet. The resolution. I'm afraid that, remember there was that report that Kyle and John met with Deebo in Florida for dinner. Remember that? It was, okay. I think it was a little bit after Tyreek Hill got traded. Then there was a report that they went out to dinner, and I think everyone said, oh, things are good between the night. I think that night or the morning after all the social media stuff happened. I think that night he took down his 49ers post, and the next morning he changed his profile picture. Look, I wasn't at the dinner, and I'm no sleuth, but it sounds like something was said at that dinner that didn't go well with Deebo. I'm guessing that John and Kyle were the messengers that night. They were presenting whatever the hell Parag had decided was the initial offer, and it was less than Deebo expected. Now it's probably just the initial offer. Deebo says he wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback. The Niners probably said, you're going to be the highest paid running back. It probably was something, I'm guessing, that was so insulting to Deebo that he did what he did, and now people feel like he's being dramatic. Anyway, I hope that the Niners can work this out, because that's my best reading of the situation, and if that's the case, I don't know, man. This could get bad.
I don't either. The other thing that really caught my attention this week was what Peter King came out with, and where he's saying how, over the last 2 years, Deebo Samuel's only averaged 800 and something yards receiving and blah blah blah. That's such
Oh,
garbage. And if that's coming from Peter King, he's tied in with the 49ers. So in terms of those guys, he was in the war room, wasn't he, back in 2017 or something like that?
yeah,
So if that's come from Peter King, and if that's the direction the 49ers are trying to take this thing, I would tell, if I was Debo, I'd be telling him to stick it, just
me
like he
too.
is.
Me too. And what's crazy is I had Larry Krueger on the channel a couple of days ago, and I was like, okay, so what do you think? What's going to happen? He's like, oh, he's going to get traded. He's going to get traded before the draft. I was like, wow. Larry's like, oh, absolutely. There's no way the Niners and him are going to work this out. No, it's just a bold prediction, but oh man, I mean, I feel like my head's telling me the same thing. My heart is telling me, not my heart, but my gut is telling me the Niners are not that stupid. No one could be that stupid. But my head is telling me they will outthink themselves on this one. Parag is going to dig in. There's no way he's going to say, "Oh well, the market changed. Forget it. What do you want, Deebo? Let me give you a blank check." This is not how the Niners do business. Ask Jimmy Ward. He was laughing about it. He was like, "Oh, Deebo, yeah, he's going to learn."
Yeah. No, that's one of those deals where the 49ers are going to have to change the way that they do some of their stuff moving forward anyway. And if they lose this guy, it's a big blow for everything. I understand that Trey Lance has some things that he can do differently, but I mean, Deebo Samuel's the engine that gets that thing running, really.
Yeah, and everyone says, well, you never trade a Hall of Fame pass rusher. You never get rid of a Hall of Fame off left tackle, but a potential an all-pro wide receiver, Kyle can create those. In what world? When did we get to that? It's so crazy to me. Really, really weird.
We see that with everybody. Pretty much anybody that does well in the 49ers system. They're all a construct of Kyle Shanahan. Go back and just watch the plays that Deebo Samuel made. Was it great scheming to run a tunnel screen on 3rd and 17 for 80 plus yards?
That was genius. Everyone should do that.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
all we heard about during the scouting combine was how all these teams are trying to find the next Deebo Samuel. Well, you've already got him on your roster. So, and on top of that, the fans who are upset about the 49ers not going all in this offseason, here's your all-in move right here, Deebo Samuel, and then Nick Bosa.
Right. And it's like, so I think some Niner fans are thinking like, you could trade Deebo right now to the Jets. You could get the 10th pick. You could get the 38th pick. Maybe you get the 4th pick. Okay, maybe. And that's really cool. You can get a lot of players. But again, why would the Jets even think about doing that? Because they're desperate for a player like Deebo. If that guy was in this draft, they wouldn't have to make the trade. So you're trading into the top 10 to get someone who's not Deebo because the Jets just told you that he's not good at. To me, it's like, why? Why would you do this?
And
the Jets
yeah, and we know that the Jets aren't going to offer that anyway. They didn't offer that for Tyreek Hill, who was looking for the same kind of money that Deebo Samuel is. They offered 2 second-round picks.
That's right.
And so that's if you're thinking that the 49ers are going to somehow come up with 2 first-round picks from the Jets, I think you're living in a fantasy world, just based off of what we've seen from them already.
Well, the Chiefs got a late first for Tyreek Hill, a late first, right? The 29th pick in the draft. Deebo's going to be working 10th pick? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Maybe should be, but I don't know if he is.
Yeah, I don't think that they'd offer something that high.
So the resolution of the Deebo drama, it could happen in about 2 weeks. There could be a big trade. And if the Niners get a first-round pick, even if it's a late one, I think a lot of Niner fans will be like, yay, Parag did it again. I think that would be a very dark day for the 49ers. And I'm telling you, I'm looking right at you, John, Kyle. If you do this, you're going to miss the playoffs next year. And it's going to be your fault for trading Deebo. He's worth 3 or 4 wins. Don't do that to Trey Lance. Come on, because he's going to take all the blame when they go 6-11 without Deebo Samuel. Don't do it.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, trading Deebo Samuel would be the worst move by the 49ers since they traded Charles Haley.
Oh, yeah. Old heads, you might remember that. But the Niners, they won the Super Bowl with Haley in 94 and then traded him in 95? No.
They traded him in 92.
92.
They traded him 92, and then Haley won the next 2 Super Bowls with Dallas.
That's right, because he was on the team that won in 88 and 89, right?
Yeah.
And then so they just sent the balance of power over to Dallas. Here, you take him.
Yeah, go ahead, take him for a second-round pick.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I think the resolution to the Deebo thing comes really probably once they get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. They need to move him off the roster. That gives them the free space to go out and get Deebo signed. I think they could front load it a little bit and use some of Jimmy's money on Samuel.
Niner fan forever 72. This is Big Daddy G, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe it's not. Pay the
It
man
is.
who's proven himself, especially with an inconsistent 2 interceptions a game, Jimmy G, and through the injuries. Yeah, man. Look. If the Niners do like, hey, you haven't proven it, buddy. Do it again. And Deebo says, all right, fine, challenge accepted. It could get way more expensive. It could get way more expensive. I'm just saying.
It always does. Look at the way the market shifted this year. It's going to continue to go up. These guys know the salary cap's going up, so every year it's going to increase. Somebody asked me yesterday on Twitter, Swan Song, who I think follows you, he was asking me, well, how much did those guys? Because I put up the numbers for Deebo Samuel compared to the top 3 guys, right, for their first 3 years, and he's like, well, how much did those guys get paid in their second contract? And he went and did the research because I told him we got to compare it to the top guy in the market at that time, and Tyreek Hill was paid second highest.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you look at Deebo Samuel's numbers, he's better right there with Tyreek Hill in their first 3 years.
Yes. Yes. Oh man, I don't know the resolution here, but I'm trying to think that the Niners are just not dumb enough. Okay, my dad was trying to bet me this week. First show in like 6 months, he's already, doing wine bets. He's like, oh, you think the Niners are going to trade Deebo? I was like, no. He's like, okay, I was going to bet you. Like, it would be insane. It would be insane. And I know they did it with DeForest Buckner, but Deebo is a fan favorite in a way that Buckner wasn't. I mean, Deebo scores all the touchdowns. Buckner is a defensive tackle, is different.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like the fact that your dad's trying to trade you already. He's already
he got me on one. He got me on one.
He wants some free wine. He
cornered me. He was like, "Do you think Jimmy's going to be on the team week 1?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "We're betting on that." I'm like, oh man. Do you understand how insane they would have to be to keep Jimmy as a backup? I was like, "Yes, I do." But so he's got me on that one. NorCal Troca says trade Deebo for good picks. Deebo does the work of 3 players, but if he gets hurt, it's over. And if we get 3 players and one gets hurt, we still got 2 left. Well, here's the thing, man. 3 players or 3 picks? Because if odds are 2 of those picks will bust. Yeah. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. No, that's it. And I think the injury stuff is a big deal. But he missed 1 game in 19, 1 game last year. He lost part of 2020 because he injured himself. He wasn't even on the team. He injured himself working out with Jimmy Garoppolo in Nashville. So
it's true. And that was a weird offseason when people were trying to work out during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Only if there's no other way to keeping Deebo. Yeah. Well, I'm not really. Yes, I feel you.